Hello, welcome to Talking the Secret Doctrine. My name is Dr. Don Franklin Shepherd, and today we will be examining the first three slokas of the third stanza in the first volume of H.P. Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine. Today we are once again using the verbatim edition of The Secret Doctrine, published by Theosophical University Press, located out in Pasadena, California. So I want to look at these three slokas and see how they relate to what we've been discussing on this channel thus far. That is, how do they relate to ideas of light and darkness? How do they relate to the ideas of the first logos as the immaculate white disc, the second logos as the dull black ground, and the third logos as the central point? So let us go ahead and read the first sloka. The last vibration of the seventh eternity thrills through infinitude. The mother swells, expanding from within without, like the bud of the lotus. So the last vibration of the seventh eternity, thrilling throughout infinitude, means that the first vibration is actually occurring on the way up, not on the way down. That is, after the entity drops away its kamarupic body, its principles begin to scatter. It is at this point that potentially that central point in mother-father begins to vibrate on the way up, not on the way down. Therefore, the last thrill of eternity is taking place already on the descent. And it's taking place when that central point breaks through the father-mother darkness and establishes the mundane egg. The mother in this case here is the second logos, or Mula Prakriti. Let us go ahead and see how H.P. Blavatsky describes the situation. She writes, the seemingly paradoxical use of the sentence seventh eternity, thus dividing the indivisible, is sanctified in esoteric philosophy. So yes, we can look at a Mahamanvantara, a great age of 311 trillion years, in terms of a universe. But we can equally look at it in terms of a solar system. And what I mean by that is that when we think of the great age, and we think of this line between dividing the divisible and the indivisible, we're actually talking about solar suns. The solar sun spends half of its time in the great age beneath the dividing line, and it spends the other half above the dividing line. So H.P. Blavatsky here in this passage is discussing the universe, but more specifically, without directly referencing it, she's discussing the solar systems. Remember, the solar suns are in the fourth layer of the mundane egg, the kamarupa of the mundane egg. And so their lives are split evenly up and down. Let us continue. The latter divides boundless duration into unconditionally eternal and universal time and a conditioned one. So here we have the first logos and we have the third logos, the immaculate white disc and the central point. Now, either one can actually be referred to as Kalahansa, and H.P. Blavatsky refers to them interchangeably throughout the Secret Doctrine, Kalahansa being the swan of time. She continues in the next sentence. One is the abstraction or noumenon of infinite time, Kala, there's the first logos. The other is phenomena, appearing periodically as the effect of Mahat, the universal intelligence limited by Manvantara duration. So here we know that Mahat is the third logos. She just told us. She doesn't say these things explicitly, but she does tell us. We also know that Mahat is the bearer of universal intelligence. Here, we have the word universal intelligence as opposed to divine thought because it's Mahat that's bringing into existence the sevenfold mundane egg, the universe, universal intelligence. And let's continue. With some schools, Mahat is the firstborn of Pradhana. That's because Pradhana is the second logos. Mahat is the third logos. Undifferentiated substance is Pradhana, or the periodical aspect of Mula Prakriti, the root of nature. So Mula Prakriti is bare subjectivity, That is its uncovered subjectivity. That is, there's no light that's blinding the darkness. We see the darkness in its pure form. Pradhana is a bit of a development from this bare subjectivity, a bit of development of the universal intelligence within itself as the central point explodes outwards to establish the mundane egg. She continues, which Pradhana is called Maya, the illusion. That is because Pradhana is a further differentiated aspect of Mula Prakriti. She goes on. In this respect, I believe esoteric teaching differs from the Vedantin doctrines of both the Advaita and the Vishishtadvaita schools. She continues. For it says that while Mula Prakriti, the noumenon, is self-existing and without any origin, is in short parentless, anupadaka, as one with Brahman, Prakriti, its phenomenon, is periodical and no better than a phantasm of the former. Here, Prakriti is the third logos, and this is why she continues to introduce Mahat. So Mahat, with the occultists, the firstborn of Jnana, or gnosis knowledge, wisdom of the logos, is a phantasm reflected from the absolute nirguna, Parabrahman, the one reality, devoid of attributes and qualities. So here we have Prakriti and Mahat as the third logos. Purush Prakriti, the third logos. Mahat Prakriti, the third logos. Parabrahman Mula Prakriti can be seen as the first logos and or the first and second logos. Pradhana can be seen as an extension of Mula Prakriti as the second logos. She continues, while some Vedantins, Mahat is a manifestation of Prakriti or matter. So here she's looking at Mahat in the mundane egg, as opposed to in its real abstraction as the third logos, in its pre-cosmical origin. When Mahat is the extension, is the development of Prakriti, it's because Mahat is corresponding to the reflection of the third logos in the mundane egg as its fifth layer. Now, all of this is in that passage, but one has to be able to read between the lines in order to get it. Now, she continues with the second part, where she's talking about the last vibration of the seventh eternity was foreordained, so forth and so on. But we've covered much of this. So I want to go ahead and jump over to the second sloka. Let us read that directly. The vibration sweeps along, touching with its swift wing simultaneously the whole universe. And the germ that dwelleth in darkness, the darkness that breathes, moves over the slumbering waters of life. So here we have the vibration sweeping along, touching the swift wing the whole universe. That is because that vibration is coming from the Father-Mother, the potential central point. It's becoming activated, becoming the active central point. That active central point tinctures the very head of the mundane egg in its seventh layer of Paramatman. Then it leaves. But this is why she uses the word the whole universe. She uses the word the whole universe because the potential vibration becomes active and touches the head of the whole universe, the mundane egg, which we've already shown previously is referred to as the boundless or the all. The germ that dwelleth in the darkness, we now know that that is the third logos. That is the central point, which tinctures the seventh layer of the mundane egg, the great central sun, so that divine thought of the first logos moves into the universal intelligence of the third logos, into the Paramatman, the Christos aspect of the mundane egg. The darkness that breathes over the slumbering waters of life. Here we have the second logos. And we'll see why this is important in her explanation. She continues. The Pythagorean monad is also said to dwell in solitude and darkness like the germ. The idea of the breath of darkness moving over the slumbering waters of life, which is primordial matter, with the latter spirit in it, recalls the first chapter of Genesis. Its original is the Brahmanical Narayana, the mover on the waters, who is the personification of the eternal breath of the unconscious all, or Parabrahman, of the Eastern occultists. It's important to understand when reading the Secret Doctrine where to place Narayana. Narayana is the second and the third logos. That is because it is the personification of Parabrahman. It's the personification. And when we're dealing with personification, we're dealing with the movement of the central point through the darkness and exploding outwards with the darkness as a backdrop to the central point. Narayana is in a sense the great breath, in the sense that he's coming from Parabrahman, but more specifically, Narayana can be spoken of interchangeably as the second or the third logos. Let us take a look at the next sloka. Darkness radiates light, and light drops one solitary ray into the waters, into the mother deep. The ray shoots through the virgin egg, and the ray causes the eternal egg to thrill and to drop the non-eternal periodical germ, which condenses into the world egg. So here we have darkness radiating light. The second logos radiates the third logos. The light, the third logos, drops one solitary ray into the waters, into the mother deep. It's moving through the darkness. The ray shoots through the virgin egg. Now the virgin egg, Blavatsky explains, is considered to be a generalized virgin egg. Not a specific, but generalized. That's because it's referring to Mula Prakriti as the second logos. When you see Mula Prakriti in your vision, it extends endlessly in the same way that the Immaculate White Disk, when one sees it in his or her vision, extends indefinitely. This is why she calls it the virgin egg. It's a generalized description. The ray causes the eternal egg to thrill. Here's the father-mother vibrating potentially, and to drop the non-eternal periodical germ, the third logos, the central point which breaks through the darkness, into the world egg. The world egg being the mundane egg. This, I think, sets the stage and in a way almost synthesizes what she has been doing before. It sets the stage for what is going to come, and it synthesizes what has already happened. We see how these slokas clearly explain these ideas that have already been presented about the Immaculate White Disk, the dull black ground, and the central point. There's a lot here. I hope you enjoy studying it. Have a great evening. Thank you very much.